Hello and welcome to day 123 in the Not Alone Today Chronological Bible Reading Plan. Today we are in 1 Kings chapters 3 and 4. And we are still in the Living Bible paraphrase for this week.
1 Kings chapter 3. Solomon made an alliance with Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and married one of his daughters. He brought her to Jerusalem to live in the city of David until he could finish building his palace and the temple and the wall around the city.
At that time, the people of Israel sacrificed their offerings on altars in the hills, for the temple of the Lord hadn't yet been built.
Solomon loved the Lord and followed all of his father David's instructions, except that he continued to sacrifice in the hills and to offer incense there. The most famous of the hilltop altars was at Gibeon, and now the king went there and sacrificed 1,000 burnt offerings. The Lord appeared to him in a dream that night and told him to ask for anything he wanted, and it would be given to him.
Solomon replied, "You were wonderfully kind to my father David because he was honest and true and faithful to you, and obeyed your commands. And you have continued your kindness to him by giving him a son to succeed him. O Lord my God, now you have made me the king instead of my father David. But I am as a little child who doesn't know his way around. And here I am among your own chosen people, a nation so great that there are almost too many people to count. Give me an understanding mind so that I can govern your people well and know the difference between what is right and what is wrong. For who by himself is able to carry such a heavy responsibility?"
The Lord was pleased with his reply and was glad that Solomon had asked for wisdom. So he replied, "Because you have asked for wisdom in governing my people and haven't asked for long life or riches for yourself or the defeat of your enemies, yes, I will give you what you asked for. I will give you a wiser mind than anyone else has ever had or will ever have. I will also give you what you didn't ask for, riches and honor. And no one in all the world will be as rich and famous as you for the rest of your life. And I will give you long life if you follow me and obey my laws as your father David did."
Then Solomon woke up and realized it had been a dream. He returned to Jerusalem and went into the tabernacle. And as he stood before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, he sacrificed burnt offerings and peace offerings. Then he invited all of his officials to a great banquet.
Soon afterwards, 2 young prostitutes came to the king to have an argument settled.
"Sir," one of them began, "we live in the same house, just the two of us, and recently I had a baby. When it was 3 days old, this woman's baby was born too. But her baby died during the night when she rolled over on it in her sleep and smothered it. Then she got up in the night and took my son from beside me while I was asleep and laid her dead child in my arms and took mine to sleep beside her. And in the morning when I tried to feed my baby, it was dead. But when it became light outside, I saw that it wasn't my son at all."
Then the other woman interrupted, "It certainly was her son, and the living child is mine."
"No," the first woman said. "The dead one is yours and the living one is mine." And so they argued back and forth before the king.
Then the king said, "Let's get the facts straight. Both of you claim the living child, and each says that the dead child belongs to the other. All right, bring me a sword." So a sword was brought to the king. Then he said, "Divide the living child into 2 and give half to each of these women."
Then the woman, who really was the mother of the child and who loved him very much, cried out, "Oh no, sir! Give her the child, don't kill him."
But the other woman said, "All right, it will be neither yours nor mine. Divide it between us."
Then the king said, "Give the baby to the woman who wants him to live, for she is the mother."
Word of the king's decision spread quickly throughout the entire nation, and all the people were awed when they realized the great wisdom God had given him.
Chapter 4. Here is a list of King Solomon's cabinet members. Azariah, son of Zadok, was the high priest. Elioreph and Ahijah, sons of Shisha, were secretaries. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was the official historian and in charge of the archives. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was commander-in-chief of the army. Zadok and Abiathar were priests. Azariah, son of Nathan, was Secretary of State. Zabud, son of Nathan, was the king's personal priest and special friend. Aisha was manager of palace affairs. Adoniram, son of Abda, was superintendent of public works.
There were also 12 officials of Solomon's court, one man from each tribe, responsible for requisitioning food from the people for the king's household. Each of them arranged provisions for 1 month of the year.
The names of these 12 officers were Ben-Hur, whose area for this taxation was the hill country of Ephraim; Ben-Dekah, whose area was Makaz, Shalbim, Beth-Shemesh, and Elon-Beth-Anan; Ben-Hesed, whose area was Haruboth, including Sokor and all the land of Ephar; Ben-Abinadab, who married Solomon's daughter, the princess Taphath, whose area was the highlands of Dor; Baana, son of Hailud, whose area was Tanak and Megiddo, all of Beth-Shean near Zarethan below Jezreel, and all the territory from Beth-Shean to Abel-Meholah and over to Jokmim; Ben-Geber, whose area was Ramoth-Gilead, including the villages of Jer, the son of Manasseh, in Gilead, and the region of Argob in Bashan, including 60 walled cities with bronze gates; Ahinadab, the son of Iddo, whose area was Mahanaim; Ahimaaz, who married Princess Basemath, another of Solomon's daughters, whose area was Naphtali; Baana, son of Ushai, whose areas were Asher and Bealoth; Jehoshaphat, son of Paruah, whose area was Issachar; Shimei, son of Elah, whose area was Benjamin; Geber, son of Huri, whose area was Gilead, including the territories of King Sihon of the Amorites and King Og of Bashan. A general manager supervised these officials and their work.
Israel and Judah were a wealthy, populous, contented nation at this time. King Solomon ruled the whole area from the Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines and down to the borders of Egypt. The conquered peoples of those lands sent taxes to Solomon and continued to serve him throughout his lifetime.
The daily food requirements for the palace were 195 bushels of fine flour, 390 bushels of meal, 10 oxen from the fattening pens, 20 pasture-fed cattle, 100 sheep, and from time to time, deer, gazelles, roebucks, and plump fowl.
His dominion extended over all the kingdoms west of the Euphrates River, from Tifsah to Gaza, and there was peace throughout the land.
Throughout the lifetime of Solomon, all of Judah and Israel lived in peace and safety, and each family had its own home and garden.
Solomon owned 40,000 chariot horses and employed 12,000 charioteers. Each month, the tax officials provided food for King Solomon and his court, also the bailey and straw for the royal horses in the stables.
God gave Solomon great wisdom and understanding, and a mind with broad interests. In fact, his wisdom excelled that of any of the wise men of the East, including those in Egypt. He was wiser than Ethan the Ezrahite, and Heman, Calcol, and Dada, the sons of Mahol, and was famous among all the surrounding nations. He was the author of 3,000 proverbs and wrote 1,005 songs. He was a great naturalist with interest in animals, birds, snakes, fish, and trees, from the great cedars of Lebanon down to the tiny hyssop, which grows in cracks in the wall. And kings from many lands sent their ambassadors to him for his advice. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Today we read just 2 chapters, which introduces us to the beginning and, in some sense, the vast summary of Solomon's reign. In chapter 3, he married the daughter of Pharaoh, which was the beginning of the cracks of his reign that will lead him eventually down the path of idolatry. But about the same time, he offered a massive sacrifice to God on Mount Gibeon, where the tabernacle is. And God appeared to him in the night following that outrageous sacrifice and gave him a blank check. He asked for wisdom. It pleased the Lord. The Lord gave him wisdom and even riches. Chapter 3 ends with the story of the two prostitutes, one with a living baby, the other with a dead baby, and how wisdom found expression in deciding the issues, in making judgment over that situation. In chapter 4, we were told of Solomon's administration. We were given the list of those in his cabinet, as well as governors in charge of various territories managing the affairs of those areas. And a general manager supervised all of those governors and their work. And then we were told of how God gave Solomon such great wisdom, and of his curiosity, and of the thousands of proverbs and 1,005 songs that he wrote, and his broad interest in animals of all sorts and plants of all cadres. And many kings from many lands sent ambassadors to him for advice. Let's offer a couple of thoughts. Chapter 3, what stood out to you, my love?
I've always wondered why Solomon's request to God pleased God when he asked for wisdom.
And I've always wondered why this was just a dream. Like, what is to give the assurance that the dream will come to pass? Like the Yorubas will say, if you dreamed and you found free money in your dream and you woke up and you start rejoicing, you're deceiving yourself. But yeah, in both what you're wondering and in what I am wondering, I think you just know sometimes when you have dreams that are not just dreams, from the multitude of, Bible says Solomon himself will go on to say in Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 3 that a dream comes from the multitude of things that we've done in the day and all the conversations we've had and the movies we've seen. This is me paraphrasing it. But this one is definitely an encounter, and he acknowledged it as such because the response to waking up from the dream is to go into the tabernacle right in front of the Ark of Covenant, offer more sacrifices, and throw a banquet to say, I receive it in that sense. But yeah, I don't know why.
Because when indeed he had the wisdom, he failed to follow God's instructions in his worship and the people he married. So in my head, I'm thinking, so he said, I'm a little child. I'm a little child. This responsibility is so heavy for me. Give me wisdom on how to govern your people. And I think he said in this version, give me an understanding mind.
Give me an understanding mind. Yes, verse 9.
Give me an understanding mind. And this was given to him. And apart from this, wealth and honor were added.
Yeah.
Long life would have been added, but it was conditioned in that I will give you long life if you follow and obey my commands. So the understanding mind, the riches and honor were given without any conditions, just based on what he said. But the one that would give him long life was conditioned with him following and obeying the laws. And it's this point that actually cut his reign in half, because he failed to follow and obey God. Or let's say, on the one hand, he claims to follow and obey God, but on the other hand, he was doing other things, worshipping the gods of his wives and marrying people. His wisdom was so much that his mind was on alliances. Let me marry from these nations, and then they will be tied to me. I'm making allies so they won't be my enemies. But then in doing that, in operating in that great wisdom, he neglected what's actually richer than being wise. Following God and obeying him so he can enjoy long life.
And that's the conclusion that he himself would reach. So it's almost like, that we've been told that alongside the wisdom, almost like an inevitable dimension to receiving such vast wisdom, was broad interests, curiosity like never before. And that is why we go on to write Ecclesiastes, for instance, to show that I've been there, done that, I've tried it all. And the conclusion it reaches at the end of that book is to say, so fear God and obey his commandments. That is the whole point. Like, if you like, be like me. and marry all you want, have fun all you want, do this all you want, do that all you want, go after wisdom, go after knowledge, learn about this, learn about that. At the end of the day,
everything
you will
is
discover
meaningless.
that it's all meaningless. And the real point is fear God and obey his commandments, for this is the chief aim or chief end of man.
For example, in Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 12, he said, I, the teacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem. I applied my mind to study and to explore by wisdom all that is done under the heavens. What a heavy burden God has laid on mankind. I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind. And then in 16, apologies. He said, I said to myself, look, I have increased in wisdom more than anyone who has ruled over Jerusalem before me. I have experienced much of wisdom and knowledge. Then I applied myself to the understanding of wisdom and also of madness and folly. But I learned that this too is a chasing after the wind. For with much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief.
Indeed.
That is amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing.
But he had to have gone through that to be able to come to this.
Exactly, to come to that conclusion.
Conclusion and resolution.
So, I think on the one hand, of course, there are inevitable consequences for even in your so-called experiment and curiosity and adventures. It does have consequences, and part of that would be eventually what happens as his own legacy. The kingdom would go on to split right after his demise. And so, in some sense, you could say, so to what point, to what end did you have to do all this and marry all this? And when it's one thing for your father to have had like 7, 8 named wives and maybe a few concubines that were not specifically named, but it's another thing to have 300 wives and 700 concubines. It's just, or is it the other way around? Maybe 700 wives and 300 concubines. It's just, it's impossible. And the kind of broad interest that would even make that conceivable, I can't imagine it. And I wonder how large the palace must be to house those very many wives and those very many concubines in their harems. But in any case, yes, that's the beginning of the end for him, in a manner of speaking. Chapter 4, what stood out to you?
Verse 25 stood out to me. However, throughout the lifetime of Solomon, Israel and Judah lived in peace and safety, and each family had their own home and garden.
It is that part of home and garden. That's what stood out to me as well.
In verse 33, I like how Solomon was described as a great naturalist. And it reminded me of our son Joshua. He's a great naturalist.
Yeah, indeed. Those are the same things that stood out to me, and I just wondered what it was like to live in a city where every family in their home had their own home and had a garden to it. That must have been some incredible real estate development for the entire city or for the entire kingdom in some sense. And it's just only someone like Solomon can conceive of something like that. We are beginning to see Solomon's tenure, and we will turn the page on day 124 when we will begin to consider what came out of this massive, incredible wisdom, and that will introduce us to the book of Proverbs. So join us on day 124 as we begin the book of Proverbs and look at the first 4 chapters. But till then, just remember, you are not alone.
Today, God bless you.